maybe what kept our species surviving for so many thousands of years was an ability to move away from uncertainty, away from pain, and towards things we understood, things we're comfortable with. But in the modern world, I don't think that works anymore. I think in order to achieve greatness, sometimes we have to square off with adversity, and we have to walk into its very midst. The best example I've ever seen of this is a guy named Mark Wellman. Mark, when he was 19 years old, was climbing in the Sierra Nevadas, and he fell down a 100-foot rock face and he broke his back. He became paralyzed. And in the hospital, in his rehab, Mark decided that he was going to climb again. And he invented this very special pull-up bar no one had ever seen before. Somebody goes up the rock face first and they anchor in the rope, and he has this pull-up bar that locks into the rope, and he slides it up. He does a pull-up, he slides the bar up, he does another pull-up, and he only gets about 6 inches up the rope with each pull-up. And he climbed El Capitan, 3,000 feet of granite. They estimated he did over 7,000 pull-ups in 7 days. And I remember before I went blind, I could just see a little bit out of one eye, and I was watching the TV set. I watched Mark climb El Capitan. And it wasn't a very beautiful sight. I mean, it was pretty graphic. I mean, his arms are occupied on the pull-up bar, and he can't even wipe away the dirt and the rocks that are falling into his eyes and into his open mouth. And the look on his face was a total contradiction. It was full of exhaustion, yet at the same time full of exaltation. And I thought to myself, there's something inside of us that I could only describe as a light that has the ability to feed on frustration, on failure. In fact, to use those things as fuel. The greater the challenge, the brighter that light burns. And that light has the ability to make us more focused, more driven, more creative, and from time to time can even transcend our own limitations and give our lives power. Well, I've met lots of people over the years, just like Mark. You know, they don't just circumvent adversity, they don't just avoid it, they just don't deal with it well. They've actually found a way to take that storm of adversity that swirls around us and to harness it and use its energy to propel them into greatness. I call people like Mark Wellman, I call them alchemists. You know, they can take all the lead that life piles on top of them, and they'll figure out a way to transform it into gold. With an alchemist, you can throw them in the middle of a fierce competitive environment. You can strip away their resources. You can throw roadblocks in their way, and they will still find a way to win. And I would argue that they'd find a way to win not despite adversity, but because of it. Imagine if adversity was the very energy that we use to grow and ultimately flourish. You know, imagine if adversity was no longer seen as an impediment, but it is the pathway.